So what is the main objective of the research? On that, this particular research design is been developed. Now the researchers has to decide here whether to go for the primary data or the secondary data. In observation, there are some attributes of the person which may not be readily observable. In case if it is second data is not able to fit or match and solve that particular problem or the issue. Hi and a warm welcome to all dear students. Hi, George Ulime, Commerce Faculty, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Dear students, in the last class I was explaining to you about the Unit 6, that is of Marketing Research in Session 1. Today we'll take up Session 2, that is the continuation of that particular market research process. So we shall have a continuation with this, and we start with the second point, that is determining research design. So it says the research design specifies the method and procedure for conducting a particular study. So this research design is very, very important aspect, because it says the research design will specify, will tell you the method to be used and what are the procedures and the method to be followed in order to conduct a particular study of that particular problem or the issues. Now, as we have already studied about this marketing research, and hence the research designs can be classified into we say 3 categories or 3 types. One is exploratory research, second is descriptive research, and third is casual research. Now this classification of this particular research, that is of, we call that research designs, is based on totally the objective of the research. So what is the main objective of the research? On that, this particular research design is been developed. Now in some cases what happens, the research will fall into only one of these categories. So out of 1, 2, 3 research designs, so in some of the cases it can fall only in the A, or it can fall only in the second, or it can fall only in the third category. So it will not be in all the 3 categories. In any one of the categories it can happen or it can fall, and it depends upon that particular cases and the issues and the problems. The problems are formulated clearly in exploratory research. So most of the problems and the issues in the market research, where you can find it has been formulated clearly in the exploratory research, that is exploratory research, that is in the first case. Now it aims at clarifying concept. Now under this, what you call the exploratory research, it says its main aim is clarifying the concepts, that is gathering explanation. First is clarifying the concept. So first and foremost, you need to understand and clarify what is the concept of that particular problem. Secondly, you need to gather the explanation, right, about that particular issue or a problem. Then gaining the insight. So then you'll get some knowledge about that, and so you'll go in depth about that particular problem. Then eliminating the impractical ideas. So you will delete or you'll remove all that impractical ideas which is there in that particular problems. Then forming the hypothesis. So all these are the important aspects which is related to the problems which are faced and which is falling under, and which has been clearly explained in the exploratory research. Now exploratory research can be formulated or performed under literature search or surveying certain people about their experiences. So how you are going to use this particular exploratory research? It says it has been performed using a literature search, that is finding out through the books or any other materials or articles. Secondly, surveying, that means doing this market survey, and where the people will be asked about their experience about that particular problem or the issues. Then focus on various groups and the case studies. So this is how you are going to try to solve that particular problem or the issues which arises and which falls under the exploratory research. Now during the research, exploratory researchers studies would not only try to acquire what? The representative sample, but also it says it would rather seek to interview those who are already involved and who's having lot of knowledge, and also who might be able to provide a very good insight about that particular problem or the issue which is concerning to the relationship of various variables. So this particular exploratory research, as I told you, you can see here, it is performed by using the literature search, as I told you, articles or magazines or any other means of the books, right? Then surveying, that is doing the surveys among the people and asking them about their experience about that particular problem or the issues. Then focus groups, mainly it is focusing the groups which has been focusing on that particular problem. So they'll be talking with them or interviewing with them. Then also they'll take up the case studies of various related problems or which has arisen before. Then during the survey, what they do, the exploratory research studies, they would not try to what? Try to acquire a representative sample. They will not try to get or take only the representative sample, but instead they would seek interview. That means they would rather interview the people, right, who's having a lot of knowledge and who is knowledgeable and one who can be able to provide a very good insight about that particular problem or the issues which is related to the relationship among various variables. Now, third part is identify data types and the sources. Now, under this, marketing research says the next step is to find out which are the sources of data to be used in order to analyze and find out the solution for that particular problem. Now, the researchers has to decide here whether to go for the primary data or the secondary data. Now, sometimes it will be a combination of both primary data and the secondary data where the researchers would like to take. Now, before going through the time and expenses of this collection of primary data, because this primary data, it is a lot of time consuming aspect as well as it will be more expensive also. Now, one should check. So, here the researchers should check instead of collecting this primary data because it is expensive as well as it is time consuming. So, this secondary data that are previously might have been collected for some other purpose, right? But that can be used in this immediate study. So the data which has been collected before itself for some other purposes, that data we call it as a secondary data, and that can be collected and it can be used immediately for the studies also. But whereas with primary data, if you take, the researchers would have to spend a lot of time on that, right? And also it becomes more expensive in taking that or collection of that information as a primary data from various sources. Now, secondary data may be internal to the firm. So, this kind of secondary data, it is an internal factor to the organization of the firm, such as it may be the sales invoices of that particular organization, of that particular product, then warranty cards, right? Or it may be the external to the firm. Sometimes it will be external, sometimes it will be internal. So, both has to be assessed. So, internally, it is like sales invoice, then warranty cards, then we say that if it is external to the firm, such as the published data or commercial available data. So, these are the important sources of secondary data which can be collected. Now, the government census is also a valuable source of secondary data because the census which has been done by the government, it is purely an external one. So, even that can be used as a secondary data for investigation. Now, secondary data has the advantage of saving time and reducing the data gathering cost. So, here this secondary data is very less expensive as well as less time consuming compared to the primary data, because primary data is more expensive and more time consuming. Now, the disadvantages of collecting this particular data, that is secondary data, may not fit the problem perfectly. So, this collection of this the second data, disadvantages are there, or demerits or drawbacks, where it says second data demerits or disadvantages, that the data may not fit, whatever the data you have collected, information you got from that particular data may not fit the problem, right, perfectly, and that the accuracy may be more difficult to verify. So, there will not be any kind of accuracy, you cannot find accuracy from that particular secondary data because it says that may not fit into the problem perfectly for the second data and than the primary data. But primary data may be a good one where it can help you out in solving that particular problem. Now, many a times secondary data might have to be supplemented, that is by primary data originated specifically for the study at hand. So, it should be supplemented, it should be assisted. So, the secondary data as well as it should be supplemented with the primary data also. So, the primary data also is required here in case if it is second data is not able to fit or match and solve that particular problem or the issue. Now, the primary data which has been originated specifically for the study of this particular person and some common types of primary data are such as demographic or socio-economic characteristics. Secondly, we have psychological and lifestyle characteristics, then attitudes and opinions, then awareness and knowledge, that is example the brand awareness. So all these are important, the important types of primary data. So I'll repeat: demographic, social, economic characteristics, psychological and lifestyle characteristics, attitude and opinions, awareness and knowledge, that is example we can give here as brand awareness. Now the intention for this example, it says purchase intention. Then while using intention, not reliable indication of the actual future behavior. Now the motivation, now comes the motivation. Motivation is what? The person's motives are more stable. So if you take a person who is doing that particular research, his motives are more stable than his behavior. So motive plays a very important role. It is a better predictor of the future. So here motive plays a very active role, and it predicts the future behavior than of the past behavior. Now coming to the behavior, it says the primary data can be obtained by communication or by observation. Now this communication, students, it will involve questioning respondents. So this communication is like asking the questions, right, or framing a questionnaire, whether it is verbally or whether it is in writing or put in writing. Now this method is versatile, that is the needs to be asked only, that is for the information. So here it becomes one kind of versatile, because it says this particular primary data, it needs to only ask for the information, not anything else beyond that. However, the response may not be accurate. So even if you put a questionnaire to the people in form of surveys and questionnaires and communicating, but still you may not get a very good response from the opposite side. Now communication usually is quicker and cheaper than observation. So communication is very, very important, and it is also very cheaper, and it is also the best method and quicker method than observation, because observation you need to be observing and lot of time is consuming there. Now observation involves the recording of actions, and is performed by either a person or some mechanical or electronic device. Now how we are going to do the observation part? Observation is involved what? The recording of the actions. As well as it is being performed by a person, or it can be performed by any other mechanical device or any other electronic device. Observation is less versatile than the communication, since some of the attributes, that is of a person, may not be a proper one or readily observable, and therefore it says such kind of things like attitudes, awareness, knowledge, intentions and motivation, which has to be observed. So it says observation is very less versatile, that is it is not so feasible than the communication, because in observation there are some attributes of the person which may not be readily observable, because you cannot always watch his attitude. Sometimes his attitudes may change every time. Then awareness also, he may not be having so much of awareness about that particular issue, then he is not having any knowledge about that particular issue, then his intention may be different, and he may be not motivated also, his motivation also may be different. Now observation may also take a longer, since observers may have to wait for the appropriate events to occur. So simply you cannot just see the person and say, this is what the thing. No. So you need to wait and watch of that particular person, right? And for that particular events to occur, like through observation using the scanner data, then might be quicker and more cost effective. So when you want to observe that particular person, you need to wait and watch for that particular event to occur, and also it is more expensive, and if you want more or a very quick response or the data then or information, then you need to use the scanner data, right, which will be more helpful to be quick. And also observation typically is more accurate than the communication. So observation typically is more accurate than the conversation, because there usually you can find out how the person is behaving, what are his attitudes, what is awareness, what is knowledge, all these things, intention, motivation. Next is personal interviews have an interviewer bias, that is mail-in questionnaires do not have. So this personal interviews is very much better, and they have the interviewer, one who is interviewing that particular person, and it says the mail-in questionnaires will not have so much of effect on this. So example, in a personal interview, the respondent perception of an interviewer may affect the responses, right? So students, so these are the topics in session 2 which I have covered let us see what are the important aspects. So I told you about the determining research design. So under research design, we have three types: explanatory research, descriptive research, and casual research. Then it says about the data, identify data types and sources. So we have primary data and secondary data, and it is primary data is where it is more expensive and time consuming, right? And secondary data is very much important because it has been already collected data, that is, which has been collected before itself, and now that can be used immediately for the study or research. Now, secondary data may be internal to the firm, such as related to sales invoice or else the warranty cards, but whereas external, so that is secondary data may be related to the such as published data, or it may be and commercial available data. Now, the government census is also considered as the secondary data. Now, this secondary data has a lot of advantage of saving time and reducing the data gathering cost, and there is also disadvantages, that is that the data may not fit the problem very perfectly, right? And it says the accuracy may not be found in the research, and it's very difficult for the primary data than the secondary data than the primary data. So many times secondary data might have to be supported with the primary data here in order for the very good study, right? And some of the primary data are like demographic and socioeconomic characteristics, psychological and lifestyle characteristics, attitude and opinions, awareness and knowledge, that is brand awareness. Then coming to the intention part, it says purchase intention, that is while using intention are not reliable indication of the actual future behavior. Then motivation, this is also a person's motive are more stable than or is behavior. So motive is a better predictor for future aspect than behavior, than the past behavior. Then behavior primary data can be obtained by communication or by observation. So communication involves questionnaires, that is giving that particular question to the people in order to get the response or answer about that particular issue or the problem or that particular subject. Then it may be verbally asked through words or like speaking, and it can also be in writing. And it is very much important that it says that one need is to ask for the information how the response may be not accurate. Then communication is very quicker and cheaper than observation, because observation involves lot of reactions, that is the actions as well as the performance of a person can be easily understood through mechanical or through electronic device. So personal interviews, it will be directly with the interviewer, will be asking the questionnaires to the person. So you can get immediate responses from that particular interviews. So students, these are the important topics of today's session. So hope you understood. See you in the next class. Until then, take care. Have a nice day.